Welcome to the Crittenden Press Women in History Month. And this is our series. This is the second episode in our series, presented by the Earl C. Clements Job Corps Academy and Rebecca Johnson Law Offices of Marion, Kentucky. On behalf of our partners in this project, we would like to welcome Nancy Hunt and Sarah Ford. Welcome to the set, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you.
We, of course, are recognizing and celebrating women in local history as part of March being Women in History Month. And we want to begin, of course, I'll kind of set the table for you here. Sarah was one of the very first women to serve on the Marion City Council. She served a couple of terms back in the 1990s, I believe. If she can correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
But and then she's also served on many other civic and community groups, and we'll talk a little bit about those. And Nancy Hunt, of course, was on the Extension Service. She was a local agent for many years and served on various councils, a great deal of leadership in Crittenden County over the years. So I guess let's just kind of begin and talk and kind of give me a background, if you don't mind. We'll start with Nancy, since you're sitting right here next to me. Tell me a little bit about your background and some of the things you've been involved with in the community.
Well, let me tell you about how I got started. I grew up in Bowling Green, and I had parents and grandparents that were very active in 4-H and Extension. So that's where I got my first start. I actually grew up on a dairy farm, and we showed dairy cattle at State Fair and did a lot of different projects at that time. And went to Western Kentucky University and got a degree in, at that time it was called Home Economics Education. Later in life I got a degree from Murray State and by then they were calling it Family and Consumer Sciences. My husband is Charlie Hunt, who is from Marion, and I married him in 1979 and moved here to the county and have lived here ever since. So for 43 years I've lived in the county. My first job was as a 4-H agent, and that is a very fulfilling position. It's hard work, but you're working with youth and you're helping shape them into adults, and so you can see a lot of your results in the future. And when I was in 4-H as that position, we did a lot of judging teams, and we did land judging and then meats judging. And I tell this story because a lot of people are familiar with Bear and Wolf Greenwell, the Greenwell twins, and they were very involved in things. Well, Bear, he sent me, he's now in New Orleans and a lawyer, and he sent me an email one day, and he said, I just want you to know that every time I go to the grocery and I look in the meat counter, I remember those things I learned from that judging team. So really does help. I became the FCS agent whenever Edwina O'Hara retired. So
FCS
is Family and Consumer Sciences, the new name for home economics. When Edwina retired, I became that, and then I retired in 2014, and have been involved in a lot of different organizations since then. And the current FCS agent in the county is Janine Tramble.
Mm-hmm. Of course, when you retired from your daytime job, you really haven't given up a great deal of your responsibilities in the community overall, have you?
No. Extension really pushes or encourages leadership in the things they do. And so as a result of that, I continued after retiring in a lot of the organizations I belong to.
Extension's been around a long time. I think it started in the early 1920s, 1921 maybe.
In Crittenden County, 1921.
Yeah. That was a kind of a pre-World War II type deal. I'd always kind of thought it had come on after World War II, kind of during the redevelopment of a lot of communities after the war. But that's earlier.
Right.
So that's been around a long time. Tell us a little bit more about the history of Extension.
Well, Extension is part of the University of Kentucky.
And it's their extension from campus, I assume,
right.
is the term.
You're in each of the states, the land-grant university, and in Kentucky, we're fortunate because we have two, not only UK, but also Kentucky State. And so there is an extension office in every county. In most counties, there are 3 extension agents for the 3 areas, Ag, 4-H, and FCS. But depending on the county, you have a horticulture agent. You can have livestock specialty agent. There's just a lot of more opportunities today for that.
Of course, communities were so much more agrarian back
Correct.
then than now, and extension was it played such an important role in helping people who maybe young families who had never grown chickens or corn before,
Right.
and help them understand.
Yeah, housewives didn't know how to can, how to put up things, how to quilt. So those skills were taught.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we don't know how these days either. Maybe.
Right. Well, and I think when you're talking about agriculture,
Yeah.
how that's changed, and that today farmers still need that information about how things are changing in order to do business.
Of course, you need a laptop and a smartphone now, don't you? Even to
Every-
operate the farm.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's changed so much. And Sarah, you've been on the Crittenden County Extension Homemakers, and currently serve as the president. You've been with that organization for 50 years.
True.
Gosh, that's you've seen a lot of change over
True,
time, haven't
true,
you?
yes.
Tell us a little bit about the Homemakers and how it is an extension of Extension, basically.
Yes, I, of course, was exposed to the extension with my mother. She was belonged to the Homemakers, and also
And what was her name?
Annabelle Alexander. She was a school teacher.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and she belonged to the Piney Power Homemakers Club. And I was also in 4-H when I was in high school. The Homemakers do you want a little bit of the history of the Homemakers? Because they're here in Crittenden County in 1947, rather, we got our first homemake economic agent, is what they were called at that time. And she started 15 clubs in the county, one in Marion and 14 in surrounding areas, and the Piney Road was one of the clubs. And they met in the home, and as Nancy has said, that they learned the skills from the material that the University of Kentucky sent them. They learned different things. And at that time, I can remember my mother being in Homemakers, but they also had a craft that they did at each meeting that was helpful for the home, such as a tray or learning to bottom a chair. And
To bottom a chair.
Okay,
We don't do a lot of that these days.
No.
You're talking about a wicker or
weed,
a weed.
yes. That was one of the things she learned, and that was useful then.
Sure.
But also, as I said, they met in a home. Now the changes have been that we meet now in the extension meeting rooms, and we have a club that meets at day and also one that meets at night. But we still have the programs, a lesson each month, and but most of our crafts now our agent has those set up at different times, and usually in the evening where people that work can come and do the crafts. So there's been that change, and well, actually in my lifetime I've seen that change.
What do you think the evolution has been of, many events were held in private homes years ago, and I know the Amish still kind of conform to that. They still have funerals, I think, and maybe I believe funerals and weddings are always at home. In years past, even churches met in homes, I think, even in Crittenden County. I know some of them that first started. But now it's like there's always a center. You have to go somewhere else. People don't open their homes like they used to. Do you think that's true?
Oh, yes, that's true. Yes, that's true.
Why? What's the evolution of that? I don't know. I mean,
I think because the centers are available. That
Yeah,
was not
maybe.
true before.
venues became,
yeah.
civic centers became.
Our church used to be about, schools and church was about the only meeting places you could go where there was a group of people. And now it is more convenient, and I think you get to see more people and be around more people at a meeting place. And also, working women don't have time to entertain guests all the
It's
time.
true. You get home and get things prepared.
Yeah.
Allison always tells me if we didn't have company occasionally, we would never clean the home. So I want to take just a moment to recognize our partners in recognizing these women in history during March. The Earl C. Clements Job Corps Academy, that's over in Morganfield. It's always seeking employees. It offers competitive salary, benefits package, and advancement opportunities. They're always looking for full and part-time and substitute positions as substitute teachers. So if you're interested in anything there with the Job Corps, teaching or administrative type position, check them out. You can go to www.mtcjobs.com. Check that on the Crittenden Press website as well. And Rebecca Johnson, the law offices are located on West Belleville Street here in Marion, and she has been a trusted source of advice and experience for estate planning, inheritance tax planning, powers of attorney, living wills, irrevocable and revocable trust, Medicaid qualification, prenuptial agreements, estate administration, filing, probate documents, and much more for over 30 years here in the community. And Rebecca Johnson was last year one of our women in history, and certainly has been a big part of that as the first county attorney here that was female. So Sarah, as well as having been a part of this from the very beginning and currently in a leadership role with the Homemakers, and tell us about the Homemakers Advisory Council and what exactly it does and what makes that up.
It's made up of 15 members. 4 of them are elected, which is the president, myself, and our vice president is Victoria Edwards. Our secretary is Debbie Paget, and Nancy Hunt is our treasurer. We meet 4 times a year, and we oversee the advisory council and all of the homemaker activities. We encourage and promote educational material and plan our events, community service events. One of the events coming up will be our quilt show. We're going to have that this year. We're not able to have it last year, but we're having it at the Women's Club April 30th. So we invite people to bring their quilts and to come and view the quilts.
And that's at the
on a
Women's
Saturday at the Women's Club, April the 30th.
It's been at the Methodist Church back when we had it before, right?
No, that was their
That was a
own.
different one,
We
okay.
have had it in the city council meeting
council
room,
chamber.
but that is not available.
Okay.
And so we were very fortunate to be able to have it at the Women's Club.
Yeah, well, what an appropriate place for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, okay, well, go ahead. Don't let me.
We also, as I said, the quilt show will be coming up. For 25 years, we sponsored the Christmas in Marion Arts and Crafts Show and turned that over to the Community Arts Foundation. Another project that I think that we're proud of is barn quilt booklets. And of course, you're familiar
yeah.
with that, Chris.
Yeah.
And we have had 2 of those published, and they with 64 pictures of barn quilts.
And they're all over the county.
They are all over the county.
It's like a trail. You can go find them. and-
Exactly.
yeah.
That's what it is called in
Yeah.
a lot of the counties, the barn quilt
Yeah.
trail. We also promote and raise funds for the ovarian cancer-free screening that the University of Kentucky offers. And I believe, do they still offer it at Paducah?
Yes.
At Paducah. And of course, Mickey Crider, our own advisory council member and also a member of the Homemakers Challenge Club, credits the early screening for saving her life. We have
And talk about an active woman in the community. Now, I think they leave, her and Tom leave in the wintertime. But
They are still in
but
Florida.
when they're here, they're very active in the
yes,
community.
yes, they certainly are.
Yeah.
We promote and support 4-H activities and have in the past gone into the school and hold educational classes. And when Nancy was our FCS agent, we were able to take bus trips, experiences to other cities. And also she had the SOS classes. And have I missed anything,
What's
Nancy?
SOS? What's that an acronym
Sharing
for?
ourselves.
Oh, okay.
And that's
Yeah.
where volunteers taught classes, and we put out a little pamphlet, and you see these in the community classes in other counties, and it was very enjoyable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, tell me how, if someone is watching our program, how would, and they're interested in this, how would they go about finding out more information or becoming involved?
Well, it would be easy. 5236 965 5236 is the extension office. And we have pamphlets, and they're more than willing to share that. They would give you information about the monthly programs coming up. And this month, at my particular club, the Challenger Club, we're going to have Sue Lefford coming to do our international program, and she's going to be talking about her month stay in China. And so our club will have speakers at different times. But yes, that would be one of the ways I think. Nancy might think of another, but that would be one of the easiest ways. And yes, we welcome anyone that would be interested in becoming a club member. And we also have the member at large for people that cannot attend meetings. This is, and for a $10 fee, they can have all of the monthly lessons, the educational lessons, mailed to them. And then they can take part in any of the homemaker activities. And our current agent, Janine, has been offering classes. She is offering upcoming painting classes and Swedish weaving and different. So if people are interested in that, they certainly can find out more about the different things that they are offered.
Has participation waned
Yes,
over the years?
yes.
I'm sure years ago is as much a social thing for people too.
That's true. That is true. It has. And I think with the last 2 years with the virus has taken its toll
Sure.
also. But now Janine has put classes and different activities on Facebook. So she's tried to use modern technology to reach
get
people. And a lot of people, frankly, rather stay home now than I think that they've gotten used to staying home to a large extent.
I think so too. Yes, I think it becomes easily convenient for them. So, well, thank you for your leadership in that program. And Nancy, you of course have again been involved in so many programs over the history. Tell us about some of the organizations that you belong to.
Okay, well, been very involved with the Homemaker Association even after I retired. But and I have, like she said, I was treasurer of the county council, but also in my after hours Homemakers Club. I have been in the Women's Club of Marion for 39 years, and I've been I'm currently the president, and we have done all types of activities in there. We just finished assembling what they call waiting room bags for children who are waiting to see the doctor at St. Jude Hospital. And so we collected the items and put them together and sent to them. We done a lot of fundraisers and things in the county. Another organization, Beta Sigma Phi, and that is a sorority. Both the Women's Club and Beta Sigma Phi are international organizations, and they're all over the world, and they have women as members. Now in Homemakers, in the past, we have had some men as members. You don't. It's not just women, but Women's Club and Beta Sigma Phi are for women, even though Beta Sigma Phi was started by a man. He did this for his wife, and so in that group, mainly we sponsor a senior every year, as well as we fundraised and for the money for the gazebo. And
Sponsor a senior.
helping a senior that has expenses, like make sure they have a yearbook, make sure they're capping
A senior in
down.
high school.
High
Okay,
school,
I
yes,
got you.
yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
I was very involved with the Chamber of Commerce when I was working, served as president of it for 5 different years. And through that, I feel like the thing that was a big accomplishment was I started the Leadership Crittenden County program.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and we had that 3 different classes over a 6-year period. and classes were held year-round with the group, and it was to expose potential leaders to things going on in the county. And it was very involved, but I think I mean, Sarah was a class member.
Yes.
And even though you'd lived here, I'm sure you know that
I
you
did.
learned a lot of
I
things.
did. I certainly
It
did.
was a
that.
great program.
It was.
And it's, so hopefully we'll get back to that sometime. Another thing is Foles Hall. I was actually on the charter board for that group and served as secretary and have continued to support it over the years. I am a member of CAF and try to sponsor it. I was very fortunate, as I said, I grew up in Bowling Green, and when you're in a college town, you get a lot of exposure to arts. And all through elementary and high school, I got to participate in a lot of activities. When I moved here, I felt like, there needed to be a little bit more, but for my children, I wanted to make sure they saw things. So I did drag them to a lot of things at Foles Hall and at the Carson Center, as well as Madisonville. Excuse me. And I'm sure, I don't know if they appreciated it as much as I hope they did, but they were exposed to a lot of different things. And then as a result of that, my daughter, Kim Vince, has been very active in the Arts Foundation.
Yes.
So that's a great thing.
She puts on a number of events at Foles Hall, and I particularly like the fireside chats when I can get over
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are really pretty neat, and a lot of the things that she brings to Foles Hall and brings to the school system. I know
Yes.
the students just rave about Kim Hunt Kim Hunt,
Yeah.
Kim Vince. I still do that. She's
Yeah.
still in my phone. She was she would be a great subject for women in history, but she's not quite old enough yet, I guess.
Yeah.
But
But she is in history.
but she is no question. Yes, she's a wonderful history teacher, and I'll never forget. I forget what program it was. She was helping organize something, and she was probably 15 years old, and maybe you were with her, and the two of you came into the press, and she had all this together, and it was so organized and meticulous. And by the time she had left, I said, Kim, would you like to be a reporter for the Crittenden Press? And honestly, we hired her, and she worked here for several
yes.
years, and very conscientious person about everything she does.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, very, very proud of her. And she is a, what is it, distinguished teacher?
She's a nationally certified teacher.
The only one I think we have in the district here,
Yeah,
I believe.
I'm not sure about that.
I
but
believe that's right. It was last time when we did an article about that. But anyway, just a lot of great things in the community over the years from Nancy and the others in your family. So just been a family effort in what you do. Sarah, I want to turn back to you just a little bit and talk about something governmental work you've done with the Marion City Council. As I mentioned, you were one of the first women. I believe by my research, you were the third woman to ever serve on the Marion City Council. And tell us a little bit about some of the things and experiences that you were involved in on the City Council.
I think of the ones that stand out in my mind. I will go back to 1984 when Nancy went as FCS agent. She asked me to take over the Piney Power 4-H Club. So I became a 4-H leader, and for over 20 years I was a 4-H leader. So working with the youth and the parks here in Crittenden County have always been something that I'm very interested in. And when I was on the council, we were able to rededicate and renovate the Veterans Park there on North Weldon Street. And that stands out in my memory as being a very good experience. When I served on the City Council also, I served on the Kentucky Renaissance Board and was charter member of the Marion Main Street. And at that period of time, we were able to get grants, and we were beautifying the city and improving the buildings, and that was very gratifying also to be working with that. We were able to do several things. I know another thing that I enjoyed was working with the Marion Main Street was the tour the school tour that we brought children, they brought, I believe it was the fifth grade.
graders, yeah.
And yes, a walk-in tour, and we were able to give a little bit of the history of the city, and as you know, a lot of them had really never been in like Foes Hall or the museums. So that was, I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, the Renaissance program and the Marion Main Street program are two that they've run their course. They don't
Yes,
exist any
yes.
longer. But at the time, they were very novel programs and helped a
They
number of smaller communities
They did,
get
yes.
some funding. And I know a lot of the lamp posts and
Yes.
the side dressing
And-
on the sidewalks and such
right.
were all done.
The
with that
flower
money.
pots, the
Yeah.
waste baskets, they were also.
Some of it's starting to show its age now,
Yes, it is.
unfortunately.
Yes.
And maybe there'll be another program come along that we can take advantage of. Anything else from city councils?
Just working with the other things that I think of as just the day-to-day things. I don't think you realize until you get involved in something like that how much it takes to run a small city, and
Right.
that you know, and the leadership skills that I had learned as in the extension, helped me a great deal. And you learn to listen, to listen and to work with other people, and that was some of the things I learned from serving on the city council.
Yeah, the city council meetings have certainly changed from the days when I called it the dungeon over in the old city hall. It was dark. It was
Yes.
it was
It was.
paneling
Yes,
in
it
there. And
was.
it was
Yes,
just
it
a
was.
dark, crowded room, and I could smell cigarette smoke from somewhere all the time. Maybe they were smoking in there. Probably did back then. But now we have a formal
Very
setting,
nice.
and it's
Very
a very
nice.
nice.
Yes.
Professional-looking
Yes.
atmosphere over.
And we're
in
going to
the
have our
city.
first woman running for mayor, so I think
Yeah,
that's a.
Phyllis Sykes
yeah,
is running
yeah.
for mayor. Now, we did have a woman run for mayor. Von L. Sturgeon ran for mayor once.
really?
She was actually the second female on the city council, and she once ran for mayor. I'm quite certain of that. I think sometimes my memory fails me, but anyway. Nancy, I'm going to bounce back to you and talk a little bit more about any other leadership type roles and maybe how people can get involved in these kind of things as we kind of start to wrap it up.
Okay. Well, through Extension and Homemakers, I got to be involved in organizations on a professional level, and I was state president of 3 different groups with that while I was working. And from that, I got to travel to Washington, D.C. and meet with our legislators and talk about the needs of Kentucky families, which that was, a great experience to have. I do want to say how the organizations, I mentioned kind of like how our men are women, but you can think of even our youth organizations. We used to always say FFA, Future
Right.
Farmers of America, and of course that's now FFA, and it has a large number of females that are in that, and all the leadership roles statewide are females. Also, you see that in what we used to call FHA, Future Homemakers of America. They changed their name to Future FCCLA, Future Community Leaders. And that has attracted a lot of boys, into that organization on all levels. Yeah, I even knew a national president that was a boy, was the state president or national president. But I think especially even you look at our extension agents, where you see women as ag agents, and
Oh, yes.
you've always seen men and women as 4-H agents, but you only saw women as FCS agents. And that has changed because of the diversity in the majors in college. Agriculture has over 17 different majors that you can go into. So you'll have somebody that's interested in soils, or they're interested in turf management. They want to work at country clubs, or they want to work with the farmer, soil management. So you have different types of things attracting men and women to those majors that used to be thought, well, this is only for men. And so women are getting in there. A lot of them are majoring in ag business and economics, and so they're going into business, or that's just helping if they have a farm, that helps with that. 4-H agents have always been men and women. The first one in this county was a man, but since then they've all been women. Just a change in the times, you see a change in these roles that we have thought, men are into cooking.
Yeah.
Back when Homemakers were started, it was the women doing the cooking. Well, now everywhere, men are cooking. So, our roles are changing because of our interest and what's available to us in school for education.
I think we have learned that we don't have to be boxed in to just be interested in certain things.
Yeah.
And that's a good, that's good for all of us.
Again, I want to take just a moment and recognize our partners, the Earl C. Clements Job Corps Academy over in Morganfield, always looking for employees, full and part-time substitute teachers as well. They're an equal opportunity employer, and check out those openings right now, the link on the Crittenden Press website. And also, Rebecca Johnson Law Offices on West Belleville Street in Marion. For over 30 years, she's been a trusted advisor with so much experience in estate planning, living wills, estate administration, irrevocable and revocable trust, powers of attorney, and probate issues. All of that for anything, any type of legal needs, contact Rebecca Johnson and her law offices on West Belleville Street. Ladies, let's kind of wrap this up then. And anything in particular, anything that's near and dear to your heart, so to speak, that you want to share before we close out? And also, I'd like for you to tell, there's so many things that people can get involved in. One of the most troubling things that I hear in this community is people say, there's nothing here. There's nothing to do in Marion and Crittenden County. Well, and your head must be under a rock, because there is plenty to do in this community. Most of it, as much as we can gather up and pile in one place, is in the Crittenden Press every week, and it will tell you what's going on. But what are some things that are out there that women, even men, as you mentioned, are accepted now in some of these? What can women do to enhance their community, enhance themselves right here in Crittenden County?
Well, if you're working, if you're an organization, you need to get your message out there, whether it's in the press, on the radio, a banner on the gazebo, or a flyer. But when you put those things up, make sure they are a good representation of what you're trying to prove. If people can't read the sign or the banner as they go by the gazebo, it really doesn't help you. If you put a flyer, say at the Welcome Center for newcomers in town, we'll make sure there's a phone number on their website that they can connect with. And when I said website, organizations, they have to be on Facebook. They have to be on whatever Instagram or whatever their audience is on. That's what they need to be on. And so if you don't get out there, put yourself out there and let people know, you are hiding under a rock. When people say, oh, that's the best kept secret, well, that's your own fault, because you've got to advertise and put it out there and invite people. And when you invite people, if they don't come, invite them again later. Don't take it personal. They might just have a commitment they can't come.
True.
Yeah. So sell yourself.
Yes.
If you're an organization looking for these people. So how can individuals get involved? Just pick up that phone. If you call the extension, they're a clearinghouse for information. Typically, I think the tourism department is a place you can call about a lot of things that are going on in the community. Again, check out the Crittenden Press website. Check out the newspaper every week, our Facebook page, and all these social media. That's one of the most difficult things is trying to find on social media. It's like you said, they're on a platform. A lot of these groups are on a platform where their members are at, and I liken social media to preaching to the choir, because you tend your people gravitate to you, but it's hard to get your message beyond your people sometimes. And that's where your typical traditional media kind of can come into play, which reaches a much broader audience. But how do people out there, is there any other than extension, how to just reach out, any people, any individuals that can direct folks on any of these programs, or just keep your eyes and ears open, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
We try to keep Michelle Edwards at Tourism informed about what's going on with groups, and so that she can tell outsiders
Right.
coming in, whether just visiting or if they moved in, what we have to offer.
And we're getting so many new people. The influx of folks moving in here right now. I just had an article this week in the newspaper about talking with Mark Williams, who's having an open house. At this time, actually it was last week, but just so many new people from different places, from New England, from out west, and just moving into Crittenden County. So there's a large pool of
Right,
potential.
that's a positive
people.
thing.
Yeah. Of course, our population numbers are falling, but maybe after the new census in 11 more years, they'll have the information out in 15.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so fun to have you ladies here with me today. I appreciate
Thank you.
Sarah Ford, Nancy Hunt, for all of the insight and all that the two of you have done for this community over the years, whether it be through civic organizations, your professional capacities, or serving on the Marion City Council. Just really a big part of Marion and Crittenden County's history, and we thank them. We also want to thank the Earl C. Clements Job Corps and the law offices of Rebecca Johnson for presenting our Women in History and this series we're doing during the month of March. Thank you.